Hi, today we want to talk about parabolic transformations. So as we can see here, we have y equals 2x squared minus 4x minus 3. And so first we want to put this into vertex form because it's much easier to see what I'm talking about in vertex form. So y equals 2 times the quantity x squared minus 2x minus 3. All I've done is taken out the 2 out front. And so next, I want to think about how I can complete this square right in here. So let's think. If I added a 1 here, we could do x minus 1 squared. So if we add a 1 in that parentheses, x squared minus 2x plus 1 minus 3. What do we need to subtract out so that we still have the same equation? Well, if we add 1 here, then we're actually adding 2 because we multiply by 2 there. So we need to subtract out 2. And so if we simplify this, y equals 2 times the quantity x minus 1 squared minus 5. And so that is our parabola in vertex form. And we can see that our vertex is going to be 1, negative 5. So let's graph. So 1, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5. 1, negative 5. And if we find our y-intercept, we plug in x equals 0. So negative 1 squared is 1 times 2 minus 5. That will give us 0, negative 3. So we know that 0, negative 3 is also on our graph. So 0, negative 3, which now we know that 2, negative 3 is also on the graph. So here is our parabola. So what do we need to think about when we want to transform this? Well, what happens if instead of y equals 2 times the quantity x minus 1 squared minus 5, what happens if we wanted to shift this 3 spaces up? Well, to do this, we just add 3. And doing this, adding a number outside of these parentheses will shift us up 3. So 1, 2, 3. Here's going to be our new vertex. So that's a parabola we could get. And then, what happens if we want to shrink this vertically? Well, all we need to do is make this number, the 2 here, less than 2. So what happens if we just made it 1? Y equals x minus 1 squared minus 5. Well, we'd still have the same vertex, but this parabola would go up less fast. So, for example, if we plug in x equals 0, we get negative 1 squared, which is 1, minus 5. That's negative 4. And negative 4 over here, too. So, we're looking at something like this. In fact, what happens if we made, instead of positive 1, what happens if we put a little negative out here? Well, if we did that, our parabola would shift from opening up into opening down. So, we can imagine this is what we would have if we flipped this vertically by putting a negative number here instead of a positive. So I've kind of cleaned up our board here. It's getting a bit messy. And so now I want to think about what if we want to shift this parabola instead of up and down? What happens if we want to shift it left and right? So what happens if we want to shift this parabola 3 to the left? So if this is 1, negative 5, we want it at negative 2, negative 5. So what happens if we want that? Well, we want to think about what is in these parentheses with our x value. So, as we have gone from 1 to negative 2, we'd think, oh, we just subtract 3. But that's wrong, because you actually need to add 3 within these parentheses. So you need to have y equals 2 times the quantity x plus 2 squared minus 5. I'm sure this is all review from what you've learned about the absolute values, but this is what you need, because if you plug in -2, you get the vertex, which is -2, -5, which is precisely what we want. So that's how you do it.